I think.
Ready?
Ready.
Batten and Kamp, welcome to the Botanical.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Let's get comfortable. Very excited to be starting our first chapter of the Botanical's creative conversation with Batten and Kamp. They are an artist duo. Let's talk about your relationship. How did you guys first meet?
We met in the first week of our studies at university. I was 17 years old. Ellie was 18 years old. Babies. And we got drunk at a party, went home together, and then have basically been together ever since.
It's been 16 years. 16. Isn't that crazy? We're very lucky.
That's so long.
So long.
It's really long.
So long.
But at what point did you both decide, okay, this is working, we can actually work together professionally as artists? Like, what was the moment that made you feel like confident enough to be working together?
Well, way before that, so at university and just out of university, we would talk about in the future wanting to live a life like this. Obviously not in the details, but it was really quite uncanny how much we envisioned this working together. And we didn't know how then, because I was working in interior architecture and Dan was in industrial design. So like there wasn't a direct crossover then. But as soon as we did a couple of projects together, we realized how good we were at working together, because it's just not always the case. More often than not, I think couples don't align very well in that respect.
And it's a sketchy thing to choose to do. Like, obviously, there's danger in mixing your creative life, your financial life, and your romantic life into one bucket. So we waited a really long time before we did it. Like, I think we had been together already 12, 11 years or something before we formally started working together. Before then, we had done lots of projects together over the years, but it was always like casual. I think we were a bit afraid of the risk in the whole thing.
So it wasn't titled as Batten and Kamp, like it was something else.
No, something that most people don't know, we actually had a studio together for a brief period in New Zealand called Date Night, which was so called because we would go out for dinner after our like separate work days and just end up talking about ideas anyway. So we kind of built this brand around this idea of date night, and we did a couple of projects together for clients, like commercial projects at the time. But then that kind of drifted and we kept doing our own thing for a number of years. And then it wasn't until 2019, right before COVID, that Ali quit her job and I stopped doing the side projects that I was doing, and we like went full time at Batten and Kamp together. Yeah.
And you were already in Hong Kong, or not yet?
Yes. Yeah. So I moved to Hong Kong and was doing exhibition design and interiors. And I think we were doing that for 3 years before Batten and Kamp.
Yeah, I was designing restaurants and also making objects of various kinds. Yeah. And then right as COVID hit, we thought, you know, it'd be a great idea. Let's start a business together.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
Being an artist during COVID is a very smart idea. Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
But Ali, how did it feel for you to go from interior design into fully being an artist? Or were there any transitional period? Were there any fear, anxiety, going from stability to uncertainty?
Yeah, absolutely. Like all the fear, all the anxiety. I'd watched Dan be self-employed for almost your entire career. So I'd really seen the realities of what it meant to work for yourself. I was under no illusions, but I didn't anticipate the I didn't anticipate what it would feel like to not have a steady income and be supported by a big company, and just be so responsible for your career as well. That was really scary. But also, it was just the most immense relief. I felt like for the first time in years, I was really being creative and had so much opportunity, and I've always poured myself 100% into whatever I've been doing, but that was previously being gifted to someone else, so it was nice to pour myself into something that was staying within the family. But I think one thing I had to really get used to was trusting how good I am creatively.
We both a little bit struggled with, but I think for you in particular, right, the label of artist, like being confident enough to just use that word to describe ourselves. So in the early days, we would still kind of sheepishly refer to ourselves as designers, which we are, of course. We're both of those things now. I think we feel comfortable to admit, but it took a while to accept that label. And I think since I've realized that, actually I would say for both of us, that we're artists in the sense of that's the type of thing that we are, the type of being that we are. But we were trained as designers. So we were kind of artists with a designer's skill set. And yeah, it takes, as much as that delineation is somewhat arbitrary, it is very like widely accepted as some kind of fact. And so even if you yourself on some level can believe that those lines can be blurred, it still takes a long time to like really accept it and believe it like with all your body.
I think it applies to all of us, not even just in the art industry, but I also feel like it's so easy to kind of let labels or titles affect the way that you feel about presenting yourself, even though there should be a little bit more freedom in the way we want to label ourselves.
I think being both is really powerful in the sense that we can choose which we are in whatever context. Like very often when we're in a more designer context, we'll present ourselves as artists, and when we're in more of an artist's context, we'll present ourselves as designers. And I think it's this thing of like always wanting to be on the periphery. Like the intersection is nice because you're at both peripheries. You're just inside of the thing, but quite close to the edge. So you almost have the perspective of an outsider. You have something close to that perspective, while still being inside of the thing. And to have that on both sides is really, really nice.
I remember at university, one of my most, the lecturer who meant the most to me saying, like, you've got to know the rules before you break them. You've got to really understand the parameters of good design before you can really push at the boundaries of it. And that's really stuck with me. And I think it really helps us now. We understand what is required to make a comfortable chair, to make a functioning light, to make something that's actually human height and works and stands and all of these things. And so then that allows us, when we then come at it from an artistic direction, to like tweak it and push it and manipulate it a bit while it's still allowing it to like feel good, you know? I think for both of us, we have that constantly, that practicality weaving in.
Yeah.
We do.
And like it's different for different pieces.
Yeah.
Sometimes the functionality is sort of a given and the thing should be very functional. And other times the functionality is like, we might be kind of subverting a thing with functionality or subverting the functionality. It can go either way. And it just changes piece to piece. It's just one more component that we can play with. It's just one part of the language, part of the vocabulary that we can work with when we're creating pieces.
Side question: when you make a piece that you might not be happy with, do you leave room for it to grow over time, and do you just put it aside, and as you work on the next pieces or when you get ideas, you go back to the piece that you weren't happy with? Or do you ever deal with that? Because for painters, I know a lot of painters would destroy their paintings if they're not happy with it, or they will just get a clean slate and start again. But in furniture or sculptures, do you put a lot of time into completing it, or what is the moment when it clicks for you that, oh, this is done, we do not need to work on it anymore?
Well, to the first part of the question, it's really interesting because I'm really proud to say that we don't waste anything. And I mean that in the sense of we'll create something and it's not always perfect. A lot of the times it's just an idea and it's early formed and not quite right. But we always pillage our pieces for parts. So the benefit of having a studio is that you've got all of these partial ideas around the place, and you can be like, what if I took the part of that side table and put it with something else? And I think that's when something really interesting ends up happening. So it can look quite different from the way it started to how it ends up. And I would say Dan in particular is so good at pushing an idea beyond where I would say it's finished, and really making sure it's excellent. Like we'll be done, and then Dan will be like, but what if we did this, or what if we changed this? And like my body resists it so completely, but you're always right. Like that.
Not always right.
You're always right with this particular thing. I think that extra little 5% or 10% is when we know it's done. The one last thing on that, I think also honestly a deadline is a good way of making something done, because nothing's ever going to be perfect until you've made it 10 times or something like that. But you don't often have that luxury. So something having to be due and having to be sent to a client is really
or
good.
for an exhibition.
Or for an exhibition, just to be like, okay, leave it alone, it's done.
Yeah.
We would never destroy anything though. Absolutely not.
Partly because I think we're not brave enough. And also, yeah, it does feel wasteful. I mean, our work is very material. It takes up space and it takes up material. So it doesn't quite sit right to destroy things. But we do sit with works often. Some works, we finish it, we put it straight out into the world, and others will sit around 90% done or 20% done for years sometimes. Yeah.
Do you ever argue over work?
Not really.
No, I wouldn't say over work. We just really trust each other. And so if I'm doing something and Dan comments on it, I think my first reaction is to listen to what he's saying and vice versa. I think it never feels personal because it just feels like a joint creation always. So yeah, somehow we're very aligned with that.
Yeah, so people can be very skeptical about this aspect of our relationship, that it's like very harmonious. It's generally considered important in a creative relationship for there to be tension, but it's just not really true in our case. And I think that's simply a matter of like a very lucky or a very particular dynamic. I don't think it's like a formula that could apply in other settings. It's just different relationships work differently, and ours happens to be really quite hilariously seamless.
You're like the same person.
Yeah, we are the same person for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, fun questions. What are each of your biggest pet peeves while living or working with each other?
Start a fight.
I didn't read that question. It's a good one.
One thing I have noticed is the notebook thing.
The notebook thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, true. cannot stand when Dan draws in my notebook. I cannot stand. If he writes in it, if he draws in it, I'm like, I want to spew.
And he opens the notebook right in the middle.
He just
Instead of,
oh my god.
So like the idea is what matters. Like the
It's
notebook
not
doesn't
the idea,
matter.
it's not about the idea, it's about a beautiful notebook. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to end the relationship, but it drives me crazy. The fact that Wing has noticed it.
That's quite.
it was so funny.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
It happens every time. Anyway, so that's my pet peeve. I'm scared. I'm really.
I don't have any because you're
But
just a
that's a word.
Is it just
But
perfect?
that's like a word
perfect
pet
angel?
peeve.
That's a word.
That's not that's not a relationship pet peeve.
Yeah. I'm sure one will come to me.
There aren't any. There's none.
She's perfect.
She's
I
perfect.
think she's perfect. Yeah.
It's not worth bringing up any pet peeves.
You guys have the perfect.
No, come on. There has to be something. Okay, hold on.
You can come back to it.
Let's come back to it,
Okay.
and I'll find a banger for you.
Oh no, it's gonna be a horrible way to end the interview. It'll be like, okay.
One thing I realized is hair. Like, girls shed a lot of hair.
Yeah.
I think that's like the only thing, because when I came home from Paris, Arthur was like, "Oh, there's hair again on the floor."
You noticed the
After I came
difference?
back, that was so annoying.
But we have the same hair anyway, so like I'm
Okay,
probably shedding more than she is.
She's the same amount. That's true.
That's another one of your pet peeves. Is like in the shower when I wash my hair, my hair comes out and I roll it into little balls.
And then
And then I try to remember to dispose of the little ball, but often there's like a tiny little hairball somewhere in the bathroom, and Ali calls them my little friends. She hates them so.
I hate them. I hate your friends.
Yeah. So the pet peeves are flowing in one
I
particular
know.
direction.
okay, that's good. I feel grateful that I was able to have met you guys through my fiance. But because Dan here is a skater,
Yeah. All tied together now.
Skateboarding brings us all together.
I know it's actually really, it's just the creatives getting together and having different hobbies and passion, and us bonding over post-war Korean art.
Yeah.
But as artists, would you say the steel and stone chair, which reminded me of the event that we bonded over, would you say that that's the piece that define Batten and Kamp the most, or what would be the piece?
I think that's the piece you have to pay the most respect to, for sure. It was the start of everything. It really was genuinely the first Batten and Kamp piece too. Like there wasn't one before that. And it's the most recognized, it's the most known and sold, and
It's hard not to want to resist that piece because it has become to define, it defines so much Batten and Kamp in a lot of people's eyes. But I fucking love that piece. I think it's beautiful.
So as we wrap up, we would like to hear your final thoughts, Batten and Kamp, on anything we have discussed today or anything else you'd like to share.
how grateful I am to be in Hong Kong, to be welcome here, how lucky I feel to be able to be an artist in this time and to create. It's such a nice reminder always that what we do is a privilege, not a given. It's our choice to do this, and it's not an easy thing to do, but it's so fun. And we're so lucky to be enabled by such wonderful people and wonderful places while we do it. So Dan and I are just
Places like this.
places like the Botanical.
So thank you.
Immensely grateful.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Yeah.